Everyone, welcome to our Psychology and Cognitive Science info session. We're super happy that you could join us this afternoon. I'm going to give it like one more minute to see if a couple more folks join us. But while we're waiting, if you all could use the Q&A feature for questions, that would be fantastic, just because it's a little bit easier to follow than the chat. But we're anticipating a pretty small group today because we usually don't have as many winter transfers. So that's also a good thing, just because it'll give you all more of an opportunity for some personalized questions throughout. But we'll kind of take you through our presentation today, and I'll go ahead and get started now. So I'm Paige, I'm one of the psychology undergraduate advisors, and I just wanted to formally welcome you all to the UCSC and specifically the psychology department. We're super excited you all are joining us here today. And I know we've communicated with some of you via email. And if you haven't sent your transcripts already, we'll get to that a little bit later in the presentation. But without further ado, let's get started. And thank you all again for coming to this afternoon. Awesome. So we'll start with some introductions. Again, I'm Paige. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm one of your psychology undergraduate advisors. And I'm also an alumni of UCSC. I am the one outlier of our advising team in that I did not study psychology. I actually double majored in literature and education, but looking forward to chatting with you all today. And I will pass it over to my colleague, Julia.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia Wanlin. I use she, her pronouns, also one of the undergraduate advisors. And like Paige said, I studied psychology at UCSC. And I'll pass it over to Becca.
Hi everyone, nice to see or meet you all. I'm glad that you're all here today. My name is Becca or Rebecca, either one's fine. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm one of the other psychology undergraduate advisors and also an alum of the psych department. And I will pass it over to Ryan.
I got to say yeehaw. Sorry. My name is Ryan. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a psychology undergraduate advisor. I was a psych major here at UCSC. And I look forward to getting to know you all.
Awesome. And we also have a couple more members of our team that aren't available to be with us today, but are an intricate part of our team. We're just letting folks in as they trickle in here. Wendy is our program coordinator and assistant manager. She's also our supervisor, so she works in our office with us. And then along with that as well, we also have Carrie Walker, who's our field study director. And that's an internship program you all can take advantage of, and we'll explain that a little bit more later in the presentation. Awesome. So we'll keep rolling here. So a little bit of a rundown of what we'll be going over today. First of all, you will see some of my personal photos that I've taken on campus. I just wanted you all to get a little bit more acquainted and kind of start to understand the environment you're in if you haven't had the pleasure of visiting campus yet. We have a lot of trails and beautiful scenery to check out. So first, we're going to kind of go over the majors we offer. You all are transfer students, so I know you all are fairly familiar with psychology and cognitive science, and you've done the majority of the prerequisites. So that will be pretty straightforward. We'll go over major declaration, which is just a formality that you do have to go through once you start, specific major requirements beyond what you've already completed, and opportunities beyond the classroom, including field study. We'll talk about sometimes the very scary, spooky, part of the background, enrollment process. We'll talk about my UCSC, looking at that, academic plans. We'll talk about campus resources. And lastly, we'll go over how to connect with your advising team and more of our departmental information. Awesome. So let's jump in here. So we just have a few kind of brief definitions here. These are the two majors that are offered in our department. Obviously, you all are being offered admission in either psychology or cognitive science. So I know you're probably familiar with some of these. What's nice about these two majors is that they're pretty interdisciplinary. So you can apply a lot of this stuff to basically almost every career that exists, and that provides you with some nice flexibility. So psychology being the study of the human mind, development functions, specifically in our department, we're a more kind of social justice focused program, which means that we're just less clinically focused. We do offer some clinical courses, but that's just something to keep in mind. And then cognitive science offers a little bit more of that interdisciplinary experience with our interdisciplinary elective requirements. And those cross over into different topics like thought, memory, perception, language, artificial intelligence. And that means you'll also get to explore other departments, which is a really nice perk of being in the cognitive science department. So these are all of the subfields for both of our majors. You'll notice when you start classes, you won't be able to search for cognitive science classes. Your upper division courses are going to be psychology courses if you're studying cognitive science, but we'll get into the specifics of that a little bit later. So we have developmental. You'll notice all these number ranges. So when you're searching for classes, this is how you'll narrow it down to understand which course falls under which subfield. So we have developmental, cognitive, social, clinical, research methods, and then lastly, independent study, which is more of those experiential learning opportunities outside of the classroom that I mentioned before. So this is a bit of a roadmap, more like a trail, since our campus has lots of trails through beautiful redwood forests. Obviously, you all are transfer students, so you've done things like GEs and all that good stuff. You may have a couple that you still need. We'll talk about major declaration. We'll talk about Psych 100 and how it's kind of a foundational course for everything else you'll be doing and how you'll be completing that in your first quarter. We'll talk about the rest of our upper division requirements, which is anything course numbered 100 or above. We'll talk about the senior seminar requirement. And then lastly, hopefully by the end, the whole point is you get to walk the stage and take your photo with Sammy the Slug and graduate. And we're here to help you get to that point. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to my colleague Julie to talk more about our majors.
Thank you. We can go to the next slide. All right, so proposing versus declaring, you are all entering UCSC as either a proposed psychology or cognitive science major. And proposing a major just means that you indicated on your application to UCSC that you were interested in that major and you were accepted into it. So eventually you will need to declare your major, and you can do that once you complete the necessary requirements to declare. Most of you probably already have completed those requirements, but if you're a cognitive science major, you still might have one more left. The instructions on how to declare your major are linked onto this site. It's a pretty simple process, just going through your My UCSC portal and submitting a petition, which we review, and then once you're declared, we'll let you know. Next slide, please. Okay, so for psychology, there are 3 requirements in order to declare, which are pre-calculus, introduction to psychology, and statistics. A grade of B- or better is required in Psych 1 and statistics. And again, most of you that are proposed psychology majors have probably already completed these or have them in progress right now. Next slide. For cognitive science, there are some slightly different major declaration requirements, which are calculus, programming, statistics, and Psych 20. In these 4 courses, you have to earn a GPA of 2.8 or higher in order to declare, which is about a B or a B- average. And like I said earlier, most of you that are proposed cognitive science majors should have already completed calculus, programming, and statistics. Some of you may have completed Psych 20, but some of you may need to take it in the winter. Next slide, please. And as Paige was talking about, we asked you all to send us your unofficial transcripts from the community colleges or universities that you've attended already, so that we can verify that you've met the major qualification requirements for our majors and that we can assist you with winter enrollment. You should have probably already sent these. They are due on Friday, so you still have a little bit of time. So if you haven't sent them, definitely make sure to do that as soon as possible. And if you have any questions about that process, you can ask them later during the Q&A or email us too. Next slide, please. So when do you need to declare your major by? You'll have to declare by the deadline during your second quarter, which is April 24th. But we do recommend declaring sooner rather than later because it will help you out with enrollment. So the earliest that you can declare is the first day of winter quarter, which is January 5th, as long as you meet the requirements to declare. And this likely doesn't apply to you, but transfer students who weren't accepted to UCSC as a psychology or cognitive science major can't switch into or add one of our majors as a second major. they would have to go through an appeal process. So if you're talking to anybody who didn't come into UCSC as a psych or cog sci major, you could let them know. And I think that's it for me. So I'll pass it over to Becca.
Thank you. Okay, to address the elephant cowboy in the room, thanks Ryan for the yeehaw. We're doing a little office like trick or treat thing today, which is why I'm wearing a cowboy hat. I unfortunately don't usually wear a cowboy hat, but today is a very festive day. Okay, so we are going to be talking about your major requirements now. So for general psychology, Julia mentioned the major declaration requirements. In addition to those, there's two other lower division requirements, which you may or may not have completed during your time before coming to UCSC. So depending on the classes you've taken, you may need to take Psych 10 and Psych 20. Um, and then there's 8 upper division courses starting with Psych 100. You'll be receiving a permission code for Psych 100 because this class is a prerequisite for all other upper division classes. So this is a really important one to take, and it must be taken at UCSC. Some of you may have taken other research methods courses before, and that'll help you out in taking this class. It's a 7-unit class, so the workload is a little bit heavier than our other classes, all of which within our major are 5 credits. So just bear that in mind. So 3 of those upper division courses need to be from our like core subfields, which are developmental, cognitive, and social. And there's a number range, as Paige showed on previous slide. There's a number range to help you identify which classes fall into which subfield. So for developmental, for example, those classes are numbered Psych 101 through Psych 119. So again, 1 developmental, 1 cognitive, and 1 social. And then you've got 3 additional upper division courses that need to be from 3 different areas. So again, that list that Paige showed of our 6 different subfields, you just need to choose 3 different subfields to take classes in. And one of those should be your senior seminar, which I'll talk about more in a second. And then your final upper division course should be from our approved list of outside courses, which, because psychology is so interdisciplinary, we require that you take an upper division course from it's a pretty long list of majors, mostly in social sciences and humanities. So you're kind of like broadening your work, your studies. So we can go to the next page. So if you plan to do intensive psychology, you would have to complete all of those requirements plus these 3 additional requirements. So you have to take 1 methods course, which is either Psych 181 or Psych 182, and then 2 quarters of independent study, which could be field study, research, or a senior thesis. And I will go into more depth on these in just a second. Just so you all know, intensive psychology and general psychology are the same major, just kind of technically 2 different concentrations. So you'll be receiving the same degree, a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, with either major concentration that you choose. And if you have any questions about it, you're always welcome to reach out to us. You can also switch your major concentration at any time. So if you start out with intensive and you realize it's not right for you, that's totally fine. You can switch to general and vice versa. So yeah, we can go to the next page. Thank you. So for cognitive science majors, again, Julia talked about the major declaration requirements. If you are a cognitive science major, it's likely that you've completed most of those courses, perhaps not Psych 20, so we'll help you enroll in Psych 20 in the winter if needed. And cognitive science majors also need to take Psych 100. Again, it's a 7-unit research methods class. It's a prerequisite for all other upper division psych classes, so it's a really important one to take, and it must be taken at UCSC. In addition to that, you need to take 3 upper division cognitive core courses. So that's any of these 4 courses, you need to take 3 of them. The main areas are perception, neuroscience, language, and memory. And there's no specific deadline for any given upper division requirement. So even though these classes are called your core classes, you can spread them out throughout your time at UCSC. And in addition to those 3 classes, you have to take 3 cognitive science electives, and you have a few more options to choose from. So those subfields that Paige mentioned earlier, there's a few social courses, there's a few developmental courses that would count towards your cognitive science major requirements. So make sure to take a look at this cognitive science electives list. And one of those 3 electives should be your senior seminar, which could be from any subfield. And again, I'll talk about that more in a second. And then cognitive science is unique in that you have to do 4 interdisciplinary electives. So these are classes not offered within our major. We have a few different kind of like groups you can choose from. There's evolution, AI and human computer interaction, philosophy, and linguistics. You can mix and match. You just need to take 4 classes from the list, and one of them should be an upper division course, which is anything listed between 101 and 199, but I think the highest that we go is like 180 something. So yeah, those are the cognitive science requirements, and we can go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so for both psychology and cognitive science, whether you do general psychology or intensive psychology, you have to take a senior seminar. This is half of your disciplinary communications requirement, and it's like an exit requirement for UCSC, so it's very important that you take it at UC Santa Cruz. And enrollment for senior seminars is a little different because most of your classes in most quarters, you're going to just be able to select a class, click enroll, and just add yourself to the class. But for senior seminars, we close them off and require that you use permission codes to enroll. So for students with senior standing, which is at 135 credits, you will be sent this code or this email that says you're eligible to request a senior seminar permission code. Please fill out this form by the deadline. Super important to fill out that form so that you can fulfill this requirement. And when you do fill that form out, we'll list all of the senior seminars that are being offered in the upcoming quarter, and you like rank your preferences, and we try to give you one of your top few choices. And senior seminars are numbered Psych 119, Psych 139, Psych 159, and Psych 179. So it's the highest number in each range of numbers that denotes a specific subfield. So if you're seeing like Psych 119N doesn't look like it has any seats, for example, and you want to try to take it, that's a senior seminar, so it'll require special enrollment. And senior seminars are offered every quarter. So if you don't get the one you want in the quarter that you wanted to take it, you could have an option to take it the following quarter. So yeah, we can move on to the next part. Thank you. So as I mentioned, for intensive psychology, you're required to do 2 quarters of independent study, which again could be field study, research, or senior thesis. You can also participate in these opportunities as a general psych concentration or as a cognitive science major. If you decide to do general psych, only 1 quarter of an independent study could count. And if you decide to do cognitive science, only 1 quarter could count towards your major requirements. But yeah, anyone can participate in these, and we highly encourage you to because they're super cool. So Psych 193 is field study. It's available to junior and senior cognitive science and psych majors who are in good academic standing and who have completed Psych 100. So you're not going to be able to get involved in your first quarter, but after that, you should be eligible. And in order to get involved in field study, you have to attend an info session at least the quarter before you plan to get involved. So if you know that you're interested, I would highly recommend signing up for a field study info session. You'll be receiving information in your inbox every quarter about this. So it shouldn't be too hard to find. It's a 2-quarter commitment, so bear that in mind if you're thinking about like your time and what classes you want to take, what opportunities you want to do. It's 2 quarters where you intern at a site for 10 hours a week. So that's 200 hours over the course of 2 quarters, which looks great on a resume and gives you a lot of really great experience that you can then apply later to whatever you do after you graduate from UCSC. You also have a faculty sponsor and you're enrolled in the class. So it's a pretty structured way to get volunteer and internship experience. So you have a lot of resources and support to ask questions of. So I would definitely recommend going to an info session if you're interested. And we have a field study position through our office. So our peer advisors are students who advise their drop-in advising. are in the field study program. I was in the field study program when I was a student, and it helped me understand that I really wanted to be a staff advisor when I graduated from UCSC, and now I'm right back in the office. So I would totally recommend getting involved with us. Yeah, and we can go to the next slide. So that was just one of the three options for independent study. The other two are research and a senior thesis. A lot of students really like getting involved in research. The experience is a bit less structured than field study because your time commitment and what you're doing depends on the lab that you join. So if you're interested in getting involved with research, you could be helping the lab start a research project, or you could be helping like code the data towards the end of the project. So yeah, this one kind of varies a lot. I recommend taking a look at our research opportunities and our different research labs, and reading up on them and seeing like what you'd want to study, what you'd want to help do research for. So generally, research assistants called RAs log 15 hours a week in the lab, and they complete a very, as I've been saying, very varied things in the lab to help out. But this is a really great opportunity, so I hope that you consider it. And for Psych 195, it's a senior thesis that you do in collaboration with a faculty member who you're working with on your project. So if you're like looking at our research opportunities and you're really interested in researching a topic and it's not something that our labs currently do, a senior thesis is a really great choice for you. And because you work with a faculty member, you have some support in that as well. And I think a lot of other majors require a senior thesis. So just a reminder, this is not required. This is totally an option that you can do, but you don't have to do. And I think that concludes that section. So I will pass it to the next person.
You. All right, so I'm going to talk about enrollment and academic planning. Go ahead and go to that first slide. Thank you. So this slide has a whole lot of links to various enrollment resources. Just remember, after this presentation, the video is going to be posted to our website along with these slides, and all the links within them are going to be clickable at that point. Just be mindful of your email today and tomorrow, and you'll get a link to the site that has that stuff published. All right, and so some of the resources you can expect to find, obviously some key dates, basic instructions on how to enroll in courses, which you might need some support on in the spring. And there's some resources for helping you figure out like what kind of classes you might want to take, course menus for finding electives. There's a tentative list of psych courses that will give you an idea, an emphasis on the word tentative, but it'll give you an idea of like what kind of psych classes might be offered in coming quarters and so on. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so something you guys should expect in the next week or so is a personalized winter enrollment email. So we hopefully have received most of your transcripts by now, if not, hopefully by the end of the week when it's due. After we've reviewed them, we'll confirm what your eligibility is and follow up with, okay, you completed these courses, and we're going to give you codes for Psych 100 and some other upper division psych course, somewhat random. You don't really get a choice. In this particular instance, you will be expected to enroll in Psych 100. It is a prerequisite for everything that follows. You do not necessarily have to enroll in the other upper division psych course, but I would recommend it either way. It will check off a requirement for you. And as you'll probably learn sooner than later, unfortunately, enrollment's kind of competitive in our department, so you might as well take advantage of it while you can so you don't fall behind later. And yeah, so that being said, these are going to be permission codes specifically. We'll have instructions within the email of how to use them. But unlike regular enrollment where you search for a class and just sort of add yourself to it, you're going to basically look for the class and add it to your cart via searching for all classes rather than open classes because it's going to be closed. And then use the code through the enrollment process to actually get yourself a seat. And it'll bypass things like the wait lists, any other course restrictions. You'll notice that your portal's not up to date yet with your prerequisites. It'll bypass that kind of concern. Something it won't bypass is discussion sections that might be waitlisted. For example, Psych 100 is going to have a whole lot of discussion sections to choose from. You're going to want to make sure to choose an open discussion section if the code is going to work. Okay. We'll be available to answer any questions about this process through Enrollment Week as well. And let's go to the next slide. So unlike this quarter, unlike this quarter, where we'll be giving you permission codes and sort of choosing for you at least a couple of classes that you can take, you're going to be kind of on your own from spring on. It's going to be up to you to sort of search what classes are going to be available, figure out compare that with your academic plan, which we'll talk about in a second, and see what you actually need. And basically, you take advantage of your enrollment appointment to either enroll or waitlist, and show up to the class and get a code later, maybe. Things will vary depending on when your enrollment appointment is, if you have priority enrollment, things like that. Something to just be super mindful of is our major is pretty impacted. Course enrollment is competitive. So you do really want to be super mindful of your enrollment appointment. Do not miss it. And even then, sometimes the classes you want might be full. So don't be afraid to waitlist when that becomes available to you to do. And worst case, show up and hopefully the professor will add you to the class. At any point in time, we're happy to hold your hand as much as you need, though. Just know we're not going to give you codes from here on out, except for under special circumstances. That being said, as entering as juniors, you technically would qualify for support for one class if necessary. And when you reach senior standing, you could qualify for support from our office for up to 2 classes potentially. There's no guarantee there, so I wouldn't depend on that. But we are still available to help support you with enrollment if absolutely necessary. Let's go to the next slide. So this is a portal that you're going to want to get used to looking at, and something that you really need to do now is double check the to-do list section in the right side, or if there's any holds, for example, on your account. I know that you're going to have orientations that you have to do if you aren't doing them already. There's going to be things like vaccines you got to fill out. There's going to be transcripts that need to be submitted officially to the registrar and admissions. And all that stuff will be on your to-do list. If anything's not checked off, you may not get an enrollment appointment with everybody else. So do make sure that you go through that checklist and everything is done. Sometime next week, you should receive an enrollment appointment if everything is done, and you'll also see that in the right sidebar where it says enrollment dates. Something to be mindful of is going to be true from here on out. You're going to be given a couple different enrollment appointments. You're going to be given one enrollment appointment that will allow you to enroll in basically up to 2 classes. You can use that to use your codes and make sure you get a seat and everything that you need. For sure. And then there's will be a second enrollment appointment, at which point you can add a 3rd class, which we can help you find if you need it. Otherwise, you're free to choose whatever you want to. And you could at that point also waitlist in any classes that you weren't otherwise able to get into at that point in time. So if it looks like, oh, it's not letting you waitlist in things, or it's not letting you roll in enough classes, just know that there's a couple different appointments with varying restrictions throughout the enrollment period. Okay. And so let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So okay, I'm going to talk about academic plans. I'll go ahead and say the links are here. So if you want to find links to any of these sample plans, find the slides or visit our website. But to show a demo of what they look like and go to the next slide. Here's an example of a general psychology plan. This is what a student would normally see if they're starting off as a freshman, but since you guys are entering as transfers, we can remove perhaps the first couple years of this, maybe a couple other classes, depending on what you've brought in. But the things that you're going to absolutely need to worry about are going to be in the last couple of years. This is going to be personalized. This is sort of just a generic template that's going to be adjusted for your individual needs. But all the requirements you're going to need to complete will be listed here with a recommended order of taking them. Although you can, once you've completed Psych 100, you can kind of do anything you want in whatever order you want to, as long as it's all done before you want to graduate. Something else to keep in mind might be there's a lot of white space in this plan. Now, some of you may be coming in already expecting to maybe double major, add a minor or something like that. That's fine. You can work with the other advisors to fill up the plan with that. But if you're not, do know that you still need 180 credits to graduate. and you're going to need to fill up some of that white space with electives. One of the things that these plans do, in addition to provide, a guide for enrollment, there's a lot of resources down at the very bottom, the colored cells. So like if you're interested and curious about field study but not sure, you can read more about it there. If you're interested in research, if you at any point want to talk to faculty during office hours, there's a link to that. If you're curious about grad school, there's resources there from career success to take advantage of. And in the case of enrollment, we have a couple resources links, including our course menus, which are a series of courses that aren't strictly required but for any reason, but we do try to organize them based on the common career goals or careers that students mention they might want to pursue after graduating. And all the courses within the various lists are going to be relevant towards those career goals. And then there's a best bets list, which is something that the colleges publish every quarter as well. It's just a big list of high capacity courses. If you have trouble filling your schedule and you just need some kind of elective to get to 15 credits and stay full time, the best bets list is your best shot at finding something that's going to be open. Okay. We can go ahead and go to the next slide and just talk about the cognitive science plan. It's a little different. Obviously, again, you can ignore the first couple of years. And just kind of focus on the last two. Most of you are probably going to still need to take Psych 20. So I mentioned that we'd be giving you enrollment codes earlier. Your codes are probably going to consist of Psych 100 and Psych 20 for this quarter. And you'll have to worry about your upper division coursework after that. In addition to some interdisciplinary electives, which we've discussed in the past. One of the great benefits of these plans also is, assuming that we give you access to view them, they'll have drop downs that you can access, and basically it'll show you a list of every course that meets a particular requirement. So if you're confused, what interdisciplinary elective should I take, or what courses will qualify, you can basically navigate the plan and figure that out that way, because the list will be there. And let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Summer session. Okay, something to be super mindful of. So a lot of you come in with different amounts of credit. Most of you were assuming coming in with about 90 credits or more, but you do need 180 credits to graduate. Some of you might want to put a rush on your requirements and get out of here a little early. The best way to compensate for both is to consider summer session. So our department offers a lot of our courses. All of our lower division courses are offered during the summer. Psych 100 is offered during the summer. If you ever need to make up any of those, are probably your best chance at getting a seat, if nothing else, but also just a good time to sort of get them out of the way and make more room for your regular school year. If you're falling behind, we have several upper division courses that are offered every summer as well. And many of the departments that we partner with, including like those that provide interdisciplinary electives for cognitive science or upper division outside courses for psych, will offer a variety of options during the summer as well. So I'd encourage you to look through the summer catalog. It'll be published early December for this coming summer. And I guess something else to keep in mind too is like, especially because you're coming in the winter, depending on how many credits you're bringing in, you might find yourself a little short on those credits. Come spring of next year when you're hoping to graduate, just know you could still walk, but maybe come back and to complete those extra courses the following that summer, so you can actually complete your degree. Okay. Going to the next slide. So this is coming back to my UCSC. One of the things you'll see in your student portal is a little drop down that says other academic information, and within it, you should see something that says degree progress report. And if we go to the next section, you can see what that looks like. So this can be somewhat intimidating to look at, especially now, because probably for the next quarter, a lot of your credits that you're transferring in won't be viewable here yet. It takes a while for admissions to actually go through everything and get all the data accurately input in the degree progress report. If it looks like some of your lower division courses that you completed aren't checked off, just know it's going to take some time for it to fill in. When it is all filled in, you could expect this to be a pretty accurate reflection of what you've completed and what you may still have to do. Similar to the academic plan, which, by the way, academic plan will have to update manually. The degree progress report is pretty automatic. It's connected to your records, and whatever courses you happen to be enrolled in at any given time or have completed and what grades you got will all be reflected here. And as you go, certain areas will just slowly check themselves off and close up. And by the time you get done, everything should just close up brilliantly and you shouldn't have any requirements left. There might be some areas that look confusing. If you have any questions, just please ask us. Feel free to email SciEDV at any point in time if something doesn't appear right. If there's a course that you knew you took that isn't appearing on there, let us know. And we'll, well, assist you essentially. Let's see, what is the next slide? Okay, so in progress coursework. Yeah, when you enroll in something, this is a new feature from last year, actually. It'll show you that you're completing that specific requirement with that coursework. And it's a handy way to sort of make sure that you're enrolling in what you need to take. If it's not checking off anything within the degree progress report, then maybe you need to reevaluate or check in with us to make sure that that course actually meets the requirement. And that's, I think, kind of it for my spiel. And I'll pass it back to Paige. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you to my team so far. Again, we have a really small group today, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to wrap up a little bit early and then we can have some one-on-one Q&As with all of you. Some of you, I know Javier has already booked an appointment with me on Monday, so that's awesome. But you all should be able to do that now. And at the end of the presentation, we'll walk you through how to do that. Also, if you have not submitted your unofficial transcripts, please do that as soon as possible. They're due on Friday on Halloween. So maybe submit them before then if you have Halloween plans. But if you're confused about that, if you're like, I didn't get that email, it was sent to your UCSC email and the personal emails you listed. If you're still not sure where that is, let us know during the Q&A and we can help you out. But we really need to see those as soon as possible so we can get those processed. And we'll address that if you all have any questions in a few minutes here. So Becca and I are going to kind of bounce back and forth here as we talk about some campus resources. So first, I just wanted to talk about McHenry Library. We have a lot of other libraries on campus, but this one is kind of breathtakingly beautiful. It's literally in the center of campus. It's surrounded by redwood trees. This is just the front of it. So the entire library has these big windows. Our whole campus is in a redwood forest. So it makes writing your midterm paper a lot more enjoyable if you're surrounded by redwood trees. And kind of the unspoken rule with McHenry is the higher you go, the quieter it gets. So it's a 4-story library. So first level is where our cafe is too. So what I would do is I would go study for a few hours. I would eat my lunch there and then just stay there for like 3 or 4 hours and write a paper or whatever and then go home. So I would go to the 4th floor where it's like creepy quiet because that's where I get my best work done. But there's a lot of options. And you can reserve study rooms in there as well. If you have a group project, you can reserve one just for yourself, or oftentimes, like if you're in a club or an organization, they'll have meetings in those rooms as well.
Next, I'm going to talk about the Learning Support Services called LSS. They offer tutoring, small group tutoring. There's a writing center, and they offer really great study tips. So you'll likely be hearing more about LSS in your specific classes. Typically, there's something about it in your syllabus, and there's a little shout out for it at the beginning of the class. But if you ever feel like you need any support in your studies in any of your classes, I highly recommend reaching out to LSS because they have a ton of really, really great resources. And it's really great to ask for help if you feel like you need it. And they've helped, I think, like 3,000 unique students. They also have positions, and I just met with a student in their first year, in their first quarter, who loves statistics, loves their statistics class, and is excited about getting involved as a tutor next quarter. So I know as incoming transfer students, you may be feeling, especially when you get on campus, like you don't have a lot of time to get involved, but you do. And specifically at LSS, like if you're feeling really strong in a subject, you can become a tutor and get a job through LSS. And if you feel like you need any support, I, again, highly recommend reaching out to them.
Awesome. So next we have the Disability Resource Center, or the DRC. You'll learn very quickly that UCSC loves our acronyms. So we'll do our very best to spell it all out and then follow with the acronym because there's like 4 billion of them. So you'll start to get the hang of it. So this is the DRC. And the mission of the DRC is to provide equal educational access for all of our students. So that can look like a lot of different things. So for me, for example, I had DRC accommodations for a mental health disorder. I'm very open about the fact that I have OCD, and when I started college, um, it was encouraged for me to put those in place. I was kind of rejecting the idea at first. I'm like, I need to do it on my own. I can't have any help because that's, cheating or whatever was my mindset. And I'm really grateful that I got those set up over the summer. For you all, I would get those set up as soon as you're able to before you start. The reason being, because the DRC, we have so many students, and if you don't have them set up before class starts, it kind of defeats the purpose of having DRC accommodations, because a lot of them revolve around test taking. If you need a note taker for a class, if you need all like alternative technology, things like that, a lot of those things you need for class. And if it's not set up, you're not going to be prepared by that point. So if it's a health related thing, often, so you'll need to consult with your doctor or whoever to send the appropriate materials to the Disability Resource Center. And you can reach out to the DRC, and there's a great group of folks over there that are happy to walk you through their intake process. This also applies to individuals with physical disabilities. So we have our disability van service, as well as other accommodations that fall under this as well. So DRC, they're just a great resource and something I'd really encourage if you feel like this would apply to you. So for me, I had extra testing time and an alternative testing space when I took statistics. I took that course and my majors were they weren't very impacted. So I was used to pretty small courses. So when I took that course, it was really big. And that was very stressful for me. So taking my exam in a small area with like five other students was really like instrumental in my success in that course. That's just one example of the accommodations they provide.
Next, I'm going to talk about the Educational Opportunity Program, EOP, and Paige is absolutely right. There's like 4 million acronyms that you will come across at UCSC, which stands for the University of California, Santa Cruz, in case anyone's wondering. So EOP is really great. They serve first generation college students, low income students, and those from educationally disadvantaged backgrounds. And they provide a lot of resources and opportunities, including personalized academic counseling, mentorship, workshops and events, leadership opportunities, and student-centered programs that promote your success. So they are a really great community. Their staff too are really dedicated and really passionate about helping students. And when I was a student here, I was friends with a lot of EOP peer mentors who started at UCSC and had their own peer mentor and found that that was absolutely instrumental in their success. So if you are an EOP student, I would definitely recommend utilizing their resources. And if you're not sure if you have EOP status, you can check through your student portal. So if you go to My UCSC and then the Student Center and then the Student Advising Summary and you go to student groups, you can see if you're an EOP student. And in order to remember those instructions, you can just look up EOP UCSC and all of this information will come up. So I'd highly recommend checking them out.
Awesome. So next step is basic needs. Basic needs encapsulates a lot of different things on our campus. My philosophy, and I think my fellow advisors obviously share the same philosophy, is you're a human being before a student. So if we're going to be talking about enrollment in Psych 140H, I'm just making it up, of course, right now. We're going to talk about enrollment in an upper division course and you're concerned about where your next meal is going to be, that food insecurity is going to take precedent over course enrollment, right? So basic needs on our campus is there for a variety of reasons. So that can encapsulate food insecurity, housing insecurity if you feel unsafe in your living space. I would also say basic needs is very tied to slug support, which provides emergency housing, financial emergency gift cards at grocery stores if you are in need of that due to really difficult food insecurity during a period of your time in college. So things like that. So we want to make sure these are all on your radar. And if you're ever confused how to navigate those resources, advisors love questions and we also refer a lot. So obviously we're here to help with your academic success. But if it's not something that's specifically in our purview, we're still familiar with all these resources, right? So we're happy to give kind of a warm handoff and make sure you connect to a person over there. If you're not able to connect, please let us know and we'll figure out an alternative option to get you to the place you need to be. Awesome. My bad. I'm going to take CAPS here. We'll start with the actual name. Counseling and Psychological Services, another acronym, CAPS. And this is our mental health resources on campus. So again, you're a human being before a student. CAPS is something I utilized fairly frequently when I was a student here at UCSC. I had an incredible experience at UCSC, but college is hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and be like it's all sunshine and rainbows every day while you're here. Although we do have some really cool rainbows, like because we get a lot of rain here, but that's the side story. But we have licensed therapists, we have licensed psychiatrists, and because we have so many students, if you are someone that realizes that therapy is something you benefit from, we have our intake appointments and you can have like a few appointments. But unfortunately, we don't have the capacity, and this is kind of the same for every university for the most part. It's not a capacity to have like a long-term therapy situation. So what CAPS is really great about is connecting students off campus to psychologists and therapists that match their insurance. So if you find that this is something long-term that you think you would really benefit from, sometimes it's like the one intake appointment, or you just need a couple sessions to talk something through that's going on in your life, and that will suffice and that will really help you work through. Sometimes it's going to be much longer term, right? So every person is different. So we have all those resources over there and those that can help you refer to community offices that will match your insurance to the best of their ability. We also have CAPS peer educators, and I was one, which was a really cool opportunity that I'd recommend looking into. So those are current students that work with our CAPS office. So they do different workshops on campus. So it's like how to help a friend in a mental health crisis, suicide prevention, how to, talk about suicide and all these myths kind of about how we talk about it and how we can point out signs and things like that. So a lot of really cool things and really valuable things. So clubs will often request workshops from the CAPS peer educators to learn more about these topics to be more informed. And we also host events like for mental wellness and things like that. And obviously, this is a confidential resource, as this is licensed therapists and things like that. And then our last main campus resource that's a little bit more specific to you all is Services for Transfer, Reentry, and Resilient Scholars, also known as STARS, probably the coolest acronym. That's the one I like the most. So STARS, this is really a resource specifically for you all as transfer students. So STARS is a little bit in a transition right now. They're eventually going to be moving over to Kresge later in a fancy new space. But in the winter, they'll be at the Academic Resource Center, which is where EOP and LSS are also housed. So that's the location they'll be. I have that linked in, and when we send the slides out, you can check out where they'll be specifically. But during winter quarter, this is where you can find them. And they'll have a winter welcome to welcome you all, and so you can get to know the staff over there. There's also transfer mentors, which are transfer students. So if that's something you're interested in, you can become a transfer mentor yourself and explore that option and impart some knowledge that you may learn along your way to our new transfer students. The STARS also always has a lounge, free printing, free testing materials. They have their own smaller food pantry and a resorbable study room. So you can reach out to them via email and also follow them on Instagram so you can see the events they're organizing, and definitely check out their winter welcome for sure. Awesome. So we'll close with some department information here. You might recognize the people on the left. So you can first service we offer is obviously scheduling an appointment with a staff advisor. I know I'll be meeting with Javier on Monday, so I'm looking forward to that. So this is all like a screenshot of our undergraduate advising page. So there's 4 staff advisors. We all have our own alpha split, so you'll see that noted. So you'll see A through FA next to me. That's just kind of when emails are sent to the SciADV email, which is listed at the bottom of the slide. That's who will be answering those. That's just how we split up emails, but you can meet with any of us. If you find that you meet with one of us and you're like, I like consistency, or I really enjoyed my appointment, or whatever, like you can keep meeting with one of us. It doesn't matter if we're in your office split or not. But if I'm not available one day and Julia is available, and also if you want to talk about global learning, it would be good to meet with Julia, or studying abroad. That's an option too. So just know you can meet with any of us, but if it does work with your schedule, that's great too. In the middle, behold our mascot in the flesh. To the right, we have our drop-in advising calendar. So this is also on our undergraduate advising website, and this is run by our peer advising team. So peer advising, our peers do drop-ins. So, and that's a lot of advising hours you can utilize. So that's from 9 to 12 and 1 to 4, Monday through Thursday. So that's a lot of hours you could seek advising. So that's virtual and in person at our office. So you can email us at SciEDV. You can also email SciPeer. But if it's a question related to like your academic plan, things of that nature, emailing SciADV is often your best bet, to connect with a staff advisor, make an appointment, all that good stuff. Sometimes though, drop-ins are really great to resolve a question. You may not need to meet with a staff advisor, or if you want to do both, we never want to deter you all from making an appointment. So never feel like there's a silly question, even if it's a really quick appointment. If you feel like meeting with us would benefit you, that's what we're here for. Awesome. So here's our location. So you can see when I said Redwoods, I wasn't kidding. So literally this is the building that we work in, the front of it. So we're in Social Sciences 2, room 150. I know that sounds really random. You'll find it eventually. But we have Social Sciences 1 and Social Sciences 2. They look exactly the same. We're the one on the left if you're entering John R. Lewis from the bottom. So our hours, as I mentioned, are the same as the drop-in hours. So we're open 9 to 12 and then 1 to 4, Mondays through Thursdays. We're also working virtually on Friday. Our physical office is closed, but we're available for the same services on Friday as well, just not in-person advising. So we offer virtual advising, we'll be available via email, all that good stuff. Our physical office isn't open on Friday. Awesome. And to the right is the little map. Did my best to isolate social sciences 2 there, but a lot of UCSC. It's gorgeous, but it is kind of spread out. So sometimes it's a little bit of trial and error and just you end up getting lost sometimes, and then you figure your way out later. Awesome. So a few final reminders here. These are a couple snapshots of just our wildlife on campus. This is pretty typical to just see a deer standing there, and they're not particularly afraid of people, which is kind of funny. They kind of just stand there. That was a really cool hawk I saw on one of our signs. Love that. Please check your email, check your email, check your email, check your email. We sent you emails about submitting your unofficial transcript. So if you haven't done that, that's an example of it's important to check your email because that's due on Friday. And please send us those so we can make sure to get your permission code set up, and so we can then make sure you're able to enroll on time in what you're supposed to be enrolled in, just so you can get started on the right foot in your first quarter, so you don't have to worry too much about enrollment. We also send out quarterly psychology newsletters via email, so another reason to check your email. And we'll have the winter one go out at the very beginning of the quarter. And that's just kind of an overview of everything going on in the department, specific events to look out for in the winter, and just kind of a comprehensive review of all the services we're offering. Meet with us. That's why we're here, and we love chatting with you all. Go to office hours. Go to your professor and your TA's office hours. Professors often told me when I was a student that they were often very lonely because no one ever came to their office hours. Professors are literally like mandated to be in a location and answer questions for like a specific period of time every week. So utilize that resource. One, it's a great networking opportunity if you're interested in their research, their career pathway, the class content, if you just want to delve into it more. If you have questions about a paper, the structure, the exam, they're going to know the answers. They're the ones that have created this test or this paper or this assignment. It's a really great opportunity to practice some professional development skills and get those questions answered. Please go to class unless you're very sick, but you're only an undergraduate student once, so please go to class. We're also on the quarter system, so even missing a couple classes puts you pretty far behind in terms of lectures and things like that. And follow us on social media at UCSC Psychology. We posted literally for this info session, like, hi, come to this. So we post pretty frequently on that, and you'll see updates there as well on key dates and things. So a couple more things here. We have our kind of Head Start campaign. So that went out. I know Javier signed up for that. That's basically, it's just encouraging our new transfer students to meet with us. So you can go in and schedule an appointment and things like that. So that's just a heads up on that. You can also email us for instructions as well. But if you're confused on how to schedule an appointment, doing all that stuff, please email us and reach out at that SciEDB email. We also have an unofficial mascot, Leia the Doodle, and she visits our office from time to time. And she even has her own UCSC bandana. So she's kind of our emotional support office dog. So if you make an appointment, you may be lucky enough to see her, and she comes in a few times a quarter. Follow us on Instagram again. There's a QR code, but we'll send you the slides as well. One more thing here. This is just a Instagram series we do called Wellness Wednesday. So every Wednesday we post a wellness tip. The staff advisors do this as well as our peer advisors. But I'm going to run through this just because we're a little short on time. Awesome. So there we are again. We love questions. So let me unshare. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to unmute. You can use the chat or the Q&A.
Hi, I have a question about like the research aspect. I just wanted to know that like if in addition to, field studies like 193 or 194 or 195, if you're able to just take like participate in research regardless if you're in those classes or not. And even if you don't want course credit, are you able to like email faculty and be part of that, or do you have any recommendations of how to do that?
Becca, do you want to take that one?
Yes, that's a great question. You totally can get involved in research without getting course credit. We always recommend taking Psych 194 specifically so you can get credit and it shows up on your transcripts. But if that doesn't work for you for any reason, that's totally fine. It's between you and the faculty member that runs the lab. And there are quite a few students who are already taking a lot of credits. They don't need more, or for whatever reason, they don't want to get the course credits. You'll just have to work out with your professor like how to stay accountable for the time that you're spending in the lab and the work that you do in the lab. But yes, absolutely, great question.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. And also, like, is there a chance where, like, our faculty, like, are you able to get paid by the lab for working? Is that like an official RA position, or is that not a thing at UCSC?
That's a great question. I don't believe so. I think there's other labs on campus. Like we have our psychology labs, but I know there's also the Institute for Social Transformation, which is a social sciences resource, and they have a lot of different labs doing like more broad, like social sciences work. And I believe that they have some paid positions, but Ryan, I will let you expand on that.
I was just going to say in psychology, I don't believe there are any paid opportunities. I mean, either way, it does depend on the research you're doing and how involved you are. Um, I mean, some programs, I mean, I can't think of an example that we have right now, but I've certainly known in the past that there's been some programs that receive special funding or are working in collaboration with other departments in some special way that provides funding. And in those instances, you might find yourself in an opportunity to get paid. But generally speaking, I think the assumption is, at least at the undergraduate level, is that you're getting paid with the experience you're getting. And the ability to sort of get a letter of recommendation at the end of it and have that work experience in your resume is pretty valuable in and of itself.
Okay, yes, thank you so much. I was just trying to figure out if I could do that like as a form of work or not, but that makes sense. Thank you.
I will add for Psych 193, our field study program, there are some paid positions through that program, but it's not research.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions? Actually, one question I'll ask. Does anyone not know the email I'm talking about sending in your unofficial transcripts to us? Like, has anyone not seen that email and you're like confused when we're like, send your transcripts? Like, is anyone confused about that process? No? So everyone's clear? Okay, awesome. Just a reminder, it's due Friday.
I needed help scheduling an appointment with my major advisor. I was trying to do it through the link, but every time I click on the link, it says like webpage not found.
Through Slug Success? Yeah. So I believe, Julia, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe as of today, you should be able to, as new transfer students, the Slug Success thing is kind of weird. You should be able to today, but if you can't, go ahead and just email us and we can just make an appointment for you manually.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Cool. So I'm going to assume everyone understands that they need to send their unofficial transcripts, mostly because I know some of you in here have sent them because we've processed them already, but I know some of you in here haven't. So I just want to make sure everyone's clear on how to do that.
How do we know you got it? Because I feel like I've sent my unofficial transcript like 3 or 4 times, and they're all different locations, and I don't think I got in like a confirmation saying that you just got my unofficial transcript.
Let me check.
We got yours.
Yep. So you should have gotten an email from us saying this is a confirmation that we received your unofficial transcripts.
Okay.
But yeah, we definitely got them. Any other questions?
I had a question about the to-do list.
Yeah.
So, was he saying that we have to do the entire to-do list before enrollment time?
It depends on what's on the to-do list, but generally speaking, yes, if you want an enrollment appointment, you do need certain things checked off, particularly surrounding any orientation requirements, vaccine requirements, um, perhaps financial aid requirements. Any forms that haven't been submitted yet probably need to be done, this week or early next week for sure.
Okay. What about specifically the official transcripts? Because a lot of my classes are still in progress.
So you should be sending your official transcripts as they are of now, like right now, whether you're enrolled and still working on it or not. And that goes true. That's true for your unofficial transcripts too. We want to see that you're at least enrolled in what's required for our screening process. And then once you ultimately get your grades, you'll want to submit them again
Okay,
with the grades. Okay.
thank you.
And just going off of what Ryan said, sending us your unofficial transcripts and sending the university your official transcripts are two different things. And there are both of those things you need to do. So sometimes that's an area of confusion. So you have to send unofficials to us, but you have to send your officials to UCSC as well. Any other questions? I know we're a little bit over time. Anyone have any last minute questions before we wrap up today?
I had one more question.
Yeah, Javier.
Was there anything about, I was interested in doing like a pre-med path. Do I have to do pre-med advising for that, or can I use you guys for that?
We would probably refer you to the folks at Career Success, and or like the folks at the biology department for a biology minor. It's usually something students pursue if that's their goal. Um, you can certainly start with us, and we could, do the warm handshake and refer you to who needs to be referred to. Um, but yeah, we're not the experts, but we can definitely direct you to those who are.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely. And I'll also add that going off of what Ryan was saying, oftentimes students add a biology minor, or if it's not adding a minor, students just take supplemental coursework. Um, our Career Success website has kind of a list of different pre-med kind of pathways or career options and suggested coursework that goes with it. Oh, thank you, Becca. Yeah, so that's the resource I'm talking about. So it's like nursing, like it'll say like complete a chem series, do this, do that. I know Psych 1's like a recommended course for a lot of these, which obviously you've all done already. So things like that. So it's not our purview, but we're happy to assist in adding that to your plan if that's something you're interested in.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I know we're 5 minutes over, so I want to give you all back the rest of your afternoon. But thank you all for joining us today. We're super excited for you all to start with us in the winter quarter. And if you all have any other questions in the meantime, please reach out to us. We love questions. And we're super excited to get to meet you all in person. Please come visit our office. And we're excited for you all to start here at UCSC. But thank you all for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Bye, everyone.